प्रियवाक्यप्रधानेन सर्वे तुष्यन्ति जातवः.
Coming, and we'll start our program with 2 minutes of silence.
प्रियवाक्यप्रधानेन सर्वे तुष्यन्ति जातवः. तस्मात् तदेव कर्तव्यम्. तदा तस्मेव कर्तव्यम्. वचनेक दरिद्रता प्रियवाक्यप्रधानेन सर्वे तुष्यन्ति जातवः. प्रियवाक्यप्रधानेन सर्वे तुष्यन्ति जातवः.
श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः. हरि ओम. ज्ञानां त्वा गणपतिगुं हवामहे कविं कवीनामुपमश्रवस्तमम्. ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणां ब्रह्मणस्पतये नः शृण्वन्नोतिभिः सीदसादनम्. प्रणो देवी सरस्वती वाजेभिर्वाजिनीवती. धीनामविद्यावतु. गणेशाय नमः. सरस्वत्यै नमः. श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः. हरि ओम. ॐ नमो भगवते रुद्राय. ॐ नमस्ते रुद्रमन्यवोऽथोऽथ शिवे नमः. नमस्ते अस्तु तन्वने बाहुभ्यां तथे नमः. याथेषु शिवतमा शिवं बभूव ते तनुः. शिवा शिरव्या यातवत्या नो रुद्रमृडया. याते रुद्र शिवा तनूरघोरा पापकाशिनी. तया नस्तनुवासन्तमया गिरिसन्ता विशाखशीः. यामिषुङ्गिरिशन्तहस्ते विवश्यष्टवे. शिवाङ्गिरित्यताङ्गुरुमाहिगुंसि पुरुषं जगत्. शिवेन वचसा त्वा गिरिचाचावदामसि. यथा न सर्वमित्यकवियक्ष्मगुं सुमनासते. अद्य वोचति वक्ता ततवो देव्यो विशक. अहिगस्य सर्वा आञ्जम्बयन् सर्वा आश्चर्यातु दान्यः. असौ यथाम्रो अर्णोदपपुरुषमङ्गलः. ये क्षेमागुं रुद्र अभितो दिक्षुक्षतां तस्तुतो वैशाखं हेरयेमहे. असौ यो वत्सपति नीलग्रीवो विलोहितः. उथैनं गोप अतिशन्नुरहार्यः. उथैनं विश्वा भूतानि च तिष्ठोदरयातिनः. नमो अस्तु नीलग्रीवाय सहस्राक्षाय मीदुषे ए. अतो ये अस्य सत्त्वानोऽहं तेभ्यो करं नमः. प्रमुञ्चतत्त्वनस्तुमुपयोरात्रियोजाम्. यास्ते हस्ते शवभ्यदाता भगभोगपा. अपगत्यनुस्वगुं सहस्राक्षजुते श्रुते. निषेधिशल्या नामुखा शिवो न सुवनामव. विरजं ननुकपत्तिनो विशल्योपानवागुमुता. अनेशन्नशेषव आबुरश्वनि शङ्कटिः. यात हेतुर्मे रुस्तमहस्ते बभूव ते तनुः. तयास्मान् विश्वतस्तमयक्ष्मया परिपूजा. नमस्ते अस्वायुधाय नाथताय जिष्णवे ए. उभाभ्यां मुदते नमो बाहुभ्यां तव दन्वने. परिते दन्वनोहेति दस्वान् वृणक्तु विश्वतः. अतो येषु निस्तवारे अस्मन्निदेहितं. Namaste Astu Bhagavan Vishweshwaraya Mahadevaya Trayambakaya Tribhulantakaya Nikagnikalaya Kalagni Rudraya Nilakantaya Mrityunjaya Sarveshwaraya Sadashivaya Shrivam Mahadevaya Namaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
वाक्यप्रधानेन सर्वे तुष्यन्ति जातवः प्रियवाक्यप्रधानेन सर्वे तुष्यन्ति जातवः.
Loving salutations at the Divine Lotus feet and loving Sairam to you all. First of all, we should express our gratitude to Swami for making such an event happen in the remote corner of the world in New Zealand, discussing about Vedas and significance of Vedas. And we also need to express our gratitude to Sister Gina and Brother Prashant for being instruments in His divine hands in this activity. The most common inhibition, opinion everybody holds is that Vedas are meant for Indians and Hindus. On one of the occasions while Swami was explaining, the translation of Bharatiya Samskriti, which is Indian culture, gives an opinion that the Vedas are meant for a specific geography in the world, which is India. But Swami defines Bharatiya Samskriti, Bharatiya, in a different way. He says Bharatiya doesn't mean that citizens of India. Bharatiya means anybody who believes in God, who is spiritual, is a Bharatiya. And India is known as Veda Bhumi, the place where Vedas evolved, and in other words, land of spirituality. Swami always says, the very reason why till today India is able to exist and get glorified is not because of anything else, but it's because of the spirituality that exists in India. In spite of so many mutinies, revolution, country invasions, countries taking over, but still India survived and is growing very fast. It's because none other reason other than the spirituality that exists. So, Bharatiya means it's not the citizens of India. Bharatiya means all of us, irrespective of which country we belong to. The moment we have love for God, we are Bharatiyas. So, which means that Vedas, as Swami very lovingly put it, is meant for everybody. I'm asked to talk a bit about Vedic evolution, but I'm not going to spend and waste a lot of time on that, because the intention of this workshop is to make it very interactive, completely interactive in fact, so that each one of us can clarify the doubts what we have and understand and probably make some effort in learning Vedas and chanting as per Swami's wish. Vedas, there is no author for Vedas. Vedas are not written, but Vedas are discovered. We see the Veda book, what we learn. The title of the book is Shruti, which means that which are heard. The Vedas have always been there. It's not that they've at one point of time they were heard and listened. They were always there, but there was no capability for people to receive it. As the people started tuning to the frequency, they started getting the Vedas. Whatever they learned, they started passing it on to people. So they were remembered. So Shruti has become Smriti. Shruti is the one which is heard. Smriti means that is which is remembered. Professor Venkatraman gives a very simple analogy to understand this. as each rishi, each sage was receiving a specific Veda, he was passing it on to people further. So it is like a stream coming from the rain, and as the streams started joining together, it became a river, and the rivers joined ocean. So the rishis, sages who started receiving the Vedas, then they started teaching it to their disciples and became like a stream. The streams became like ocean and ultimately merged into divinity. If you look at the genesis of the stream, they are from rainwater. What is the genesis of rain? It is from the clouds. How clouds are formed? They are from water vapor which comes from the ocean. So from divinity, the Vedas emerged and they again joined back the divinity. If you put it in simple terms, rishis received Vedas from the pure divinity and they passed it on to us and they are joining us. We are again divine. That reflects the divinity which is present in each one of us. When there were so many hymns, so many Vedas that were formed, then God decided that they need to be classified so that people understand and there is systematic way of learning them. So Vaisampayana, who is called as Veda Vyasa because he compiled all Vedas together, has made them into 4 major Vedas. And each Veda is again divided into 3 parts. One is called Samhita, which means collection of hymns, which we regularly chant, suktams and other things. The second part is called Brahmanas, which basically describe the rites and rituals what we perform at a marriage, at housewarming, etc., those kind of things. And the last part is called Aranyakas, which is at some point of time in each one of us get a feeling of renunciation. We want to leave the regular routine, mundane life and move towards spirituality. And that Aranyakas explain how we move away from the world and move towards God. So in fact, there is a thought process also that Vyasa is not a person but it's an institution. But what they say is Vyasa is incarnation of God, obviously, who divided this into many parts. That is the theory behind it. Let me not take more of your time. We would like to make it more interactive. Brother Prashant will share a bit of take part. After that, I think we will make into different groups. Prashant will explain the process.
Priyavakya Pradhanena
Sairam. Thank you, Uncle Mahesh. Each of us here have had a very unique journey of how the Vedas have actually touched one of us. I would just like to share my humble journey. And it started in around 2005. And often, as many of us have been to Prashanti, we may have heard the echoes of the Vedic chanting in the wee hours of the morning. While as many of us would stand at the Naga Sankirtan lines, you'll suddenly see these 5 or 6 men covered with shawls in the cold morning, and out of nowhere the resounding Om thunders the whole hall in Prashanti. And my first experience just, because I did not know, if it's your first time hearing it and things like that, your first time when you actually experience such a thing, for me it was a wow. Each of us have that wow effect that actually hits us very hard. And for me it was like, I said, Swami, it would be really nice if one day we can chant like that. And so this feeling was there. And interestingly, when I returned home back to Malaysia, one of our Sai brothers had actually conducted a session there for our center, and he had taught us the fine, how you like to call the technical aspects of Vedic chanting. And I was like, oh, okay, it's not, it's not over the top after all. And I would like to thank my mother for sort of initiating me into this, saw me using my mom as an instrument. And one day, before I left for the country, she gives me this book. She gave me the book, I'm sure some of you may have seen the Veda Sartham book, and she gave me the CD. She opens this Balvika's cupboard. Our Balvika's cupboard has got the library of Swami's discourses basically, and Swami's Chinnakathas and whatnot. And you open that, and so my mom said, yeah, this is for you. I was like, oh, because I know my mom prepares educare every week and things like that, and for her to just give something like that, it must be something that she feels that I really need to take up. So I think each of us may have received books, or some of us may have received CDs and various things like that. And how it started for me was as I started every day of my life in the mornings, I used to just play this in the background. I did not know what to make out of it, and it used to be playing at the background. So some of us, routinely we have a 1 hour. It takes 1 hour for you to wake up. It takes 1 hour, wake up, brush your teeth, shower, have your breakfast before you go to work or start your routine. And this used to be played in the background. But little did I know that it was actually very subtly making an impact in my life. And if not for earnest sincerity and love for Vedas from people like all of you, I think many of us would not have had that extra effort and extra interest to learn more about the Vedas. I'll speak for myself at least. Because there are a bunch of very sincere Sai aspirants in Hamilton, for example, and some of them have come here today. And without fail, they wanted to chant. And that made me think a little bit more. And it made me really want to learn more about the Vedas, because there's something that was happening within me, just like how there's something happening inside you that only you can really understand. So we want to know more about what it is that Vedas is actually doing to you. And before I... don't worry about the slides. It's okay. Yeah. Before we start the workshop, I would like to just call two brothers and just ask them what actually prompts them to actually chant the Vedam. And I would like to first call Brother Ganesh, followed by Uncle Vijay. Om Saram.
Brother also. Om Sai Ram. What makes me chant Vedas? Difficult question to answer. I was very fortunate actually to have my parents both devotees of Swami from earlier stages of their life. So I was born in Orthodox Brahmin family and being brought up on that culture. I felt that Veda is a necessary thing because it gives you clarity in your thoughts, it improves your concentration, and I personally feel that at during my earlier stages of my schooling, I was doing meditation and I wasn't doing Vedas, but my mother insisted me of doing Vedas at certain stage. After coming to New Zealand, it was provoked by Brother Prashant. Actually, when he asked me, do you know Vedas, he asked me. So it provoked me, that it's kind of a slap for me that I must learn Vedas and do things. So I started learning Vedas. I'm practicing Vedas now. I'm listening to a lot of Vedas actually, starting with Sri Rudra. It gives me an internal strength for my daily activities to carry on. And as Brother Mahesh said, from my grandfathers, I have heard that the Vedas are of four, basically Rig, Yajur, Sama and Atharvana. So these are all like magical verses, we can call it. So the words are magical, they can create magic around you. So when you do it with proper pronunciation and good thought, then it would create a positive vibration amongst you and around you, which will help you to the betterment of your spiritual journey. So that's what makes me and it's also one of my New Year resolution to learn Vedas for this year. So that's what's making me to learn Vedas. Om Sri Sai Ram.
My humble pranams, Lotus feet of Swami. Thank you for asking me to say a few words. My journey into this chanting probably had the foundations in my time when I was in India. I've listened to great scholars chanting at different locations. I vividly remember when my parents' 60th birthday was celebrated. We do something called Shashtapta Bhurti, and we have this Rudra, Ekadashi Rudra. Rudram will be chanted 11 times. And when the priests were chanting that, that's the time I got that feeling, something, oh my God, like how the brother said, how nice it will be if we can learn this Rudram and chant one day. And then it just died there. After we came to New Zealand, when we went to this Ganesh temple, to hear the priest Chandru chanting that, actually it lifted me up and I felt, oh my God, we should do something about it. And that was about the same time when they had this High People Center and Brother Darshan was taking classes. So we used to go and learn from Brother Darshan, and unfortunately it did not continue for a long time. And Swami had his own plan. He sent Brother Mahesh here to replace Darshan. So Mahesh and I normally get together and we learn chant. I've been doing it for the past 5-6 years now. And in between he took a small holiday. He went to India and he came back. Now, why do I chant? I can't really pinpoint anything as to the why aspect. The only thing I can think is in Vedanta they say they classify the reasons into two types. One is Drishta Karana and the other one is Adrishta Karana. So Drishta Karana, what they say is anything which is apparent and the effect of it is seen. For example, a couple of weeks back I had to leave the office around on a Friday afternoon. I was not feeling very well. I had a sore throat, bad cough, cold. I came home. And if somebody had called me the next day and asked, hey, you were perfectly fine the previous week, what's happening with you? And if I get to tell them, look, it's my bad karma or something, God has not been kind to me, and I had this cold, flu, blah, blah, blah. My family doctor is here. She would have told me, Vijay, what nonsense are you talking? The weather has been so bad, and you probably got exposed to the rain, and that's how. So that's the Drishta Karana, like I know the sickness is because of the rain and my exposure to the cold weather, and it has nothing to do with God. Okay, and the Adrishta Karana, but they use the word as a prefix in Sanskrit to connotate the opposite, like happy, unhappy, like Drishta, Adrishta. Adrishta Karana, they say, is you can't really explain anything. It's just mere God's grace. But they say 99.99% of the things in this world are on account of Drishta Karana, including your 9/11 or the Malaysian Airlines episode or anything. Everything has a reason. That has nothing to do with God at all. So when I look for an example for an Adrishta Karana, I could probably say my interest in chanting is one thing which I don't have any other explanation, so I have to just say that is an Adrishta Karana. And by the way, in Tamil, Adrishtam means, lucky, fortunate, So that's how I feel. And I'm grateful to Mahesh and, we get together and we learn, and we also have a good team in Auckland which is chanting, and we are getting opportunity to do in Akan Bhajans and a few other things. That's about it. Thank you.
प्रियवास्य प्रदानेन सर्वे तुष्यन्ति।
So we'll get into interactive sessions. What is the count? Is it around 30? So we'll look at having.
Just start from 1, 2, 4, 6, 8, 12, 14 men. 15. 16.
There's 2 on the stage.
Where's Selvan?
2 on the stage.
So we'll have three male groups and maybe four female groups. Maybe one. Yeah. Maybe the men can say 1, 2, 3.
That's a 1, 2.
Yeah. So
1.
Uncle, 2, 3,
4.
No, 1.
1. 2, 3. 1.
Please remember your numbers.
Yeah.
Uncle, 3.
1.
No, 3.
Oh, 3.
2, 3, and
There's 2 people there.
yeah.
They'll just join.
Yeah.
Prashant, 2 on the stage.
Yeah.
2, and Uncle Silvan, 3. Yeah. And maybe the ladies as well. We can do 1, 2, 3 as well. I think maybe
4, I think. Maybe.
4. Huh? Okay.
1.
Where are they going to go? Make noise.
3.
Let's be put on.
1, 4, 4.
Please remember your numbers.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. Yeah. So we can have all the
Ones together, twos together, threes together, and ladies fours.
That's annoying, isn't
so all the men 1 will be here, men 2, and men 3. Alright?
What is your What is it? Expectations. What's the question? What is your understanding, expectations of Vedic chanting? Get some answers. Okay. Why do you example starting the easy one? Yeah, just take easy one. Okay. Even Swami says to do that. Number 2, why do you want to chant Vedam? Number 3, what are the feelings or experiences you used to chanting Vedam? And 4, what are the charms or doubts?
What number are you in?
Number 2.
Yeah, stop. If you want to write
Saira, the objective of this exercise is don't restrict yourselves to those questions. They are only guidelines. What we want to understand is what is your feeling about Vedic chanting, what you think Vedas are, as I try to explain to you, each one of us will know, and what is your expectation out of Vedic chanting. If you want to learn but something is stopping you from learning, what are those doubts, confusions, questions, and what exactly you want to do going forward. So basically that is the objective, that's what we want to find out, so that whatever assistance that can be provided, we should be able to provide. So these questions are just guidelines, please go by that, but if you want add anything more further, you are free to add.
What's the time frame for this discussion?
Discussion is 7 minutes, 7 to 10 minutes is okay?
Yeah, you guys.
It'll take around 10 minutes to discuss, and probably we'll give another 10 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes for you to come and present each group. Each group, after this exercise, each group will present their opinion, what is the outcome of the discussion, so that everybody understands.
We say by heart.
There's nothing right or nothing wrong in this, so please feel free.
It quietens the audience down, it gives you an uplift, it's and then you got the Samaveda,
Just listening to it.
the Yajurveda, or the Rig Veda,
Understanding. Understanding is perfect. Understanding and expectations. Understanding is like you said, it's from
To understand.
I think for me, like same, I grew up like in the Vedic chanting. I used to fix all these like please get that that's a very strong
Follow. And to know, first you must know what it is. First you must know what it is and how is it applicable to our lives and how to follow it. Because we have to follow for us to go back to God, we have to follow spiritual that is leading you human that recognizes them. It is specified exactly.
प्रियवाक्य प्रदानेन सर्वे तुष्यन्ति जातः तस्मात् तदेव कर्तव्यम् तदा तस्मेव कर्तव्यम्.
So we belong to first group of men. First question, what is your understanding, expectations of Vedic chanting? Most of our group members felt that Vedic chanting will increase their thought clarity, though they don't have enough understanding of the Vedas. They felt that we can get connected to a lot. There is a profound energy in chanting Vedas, and it has an intangible effect. So these are some of the points for the first question which our group has come up as a collective. I just want to stress that most of us feel that we have a poor understanding of Vedas. why do you want to chant Vedam? So our little member said that to be more with God. The doctor came up with we can learn a new skill. Since most of the chantings are in Sanskrit, so the script is derived from Devanagari, the Hindi script. So it's a new language to learn on its own, and it has a very inner thought to it. So a new skill.
And it'll keep dementia at bay.
Uncle Guna said that it transports back us to Prashanti.
Yes, sir. I didn't say that. He said that.
Okay. Breath control, memory power, increasing memory power. Interesting point is connecting to our own culture. These are some of the points for the second question. What are the feelings or experiences you get from chanting Vedas? Again, we get more into God. It improves our listening skills. Veda chanting will give us more immense source of energy. And it is one of the way to connect to God. So what are the doubts, challenges faced in learning Veda? I mean, there are n number of doubts and challenges we face. So first of all, we find that we don't understand Sanskrit. We are not native Hindi or Indian born, not me.
I
don't remember that coming into the discussion.
So as pronouncing it correctly with proper information. The another valid point given is it is not considered as an official organization activity. So, which makes that opportunities to chant as a group is limited. And lack of gurus who know in depth rather than only few people in New Zealand, I can point now, who have a good knowledge in Vedas. And there are a lot of misconceptions, and main challenges is the time factor which we face. Brother, you want to add? No.
I think you should say the point you raised. No time to say.
Yeah. Uncle, you want?
It is really important for us to understand what we are chanting rather than repeating like a parrot. But if we take ourselves back to the beginning of our life, as a child, when the mother teaches us words, the parents teach the words, we don't know the meaning of what we are saying, but we just repeat it. As we learn and as we put them into practice, we know the meaning of the word and we know when to use that word to communicate our feelings. Same with Vedas. We have to take as if we are starting our childhood again. Start it to repeat the words. But the good part is all the books what we follow, like Shruti, have got the meanings. There are other books which explain word to word meaning to it. And it's a good opportunity for us to convert the Veda learning session into a study circle also. As we learn a verse, we'll go through the meaning and we try to understand the inner meaning of it. by that we can overcome the handicap of not knowing the Sanskrit. Yes, we don't know the Sanskrit, but we have a way of learning meaning from it. All the books, because Swami intends that everybody is to chant, the Satsai Books and Publication Trust has come out with English book. Even as Ganesh said, it's basically in Devanagari, but it's also put in English so that people who don't know Hindi can learn English part of it. Pronunciation, again, we have 2 ways of handling that handicap. Is that one is that at the beginning of the book, the pronunciation is given, how to use English words to chant like Sanskrit, the dots and dash and all that. When it comes to intonation, there are only 3 intonations basically. One is the low, one is up, one is the double. Beyond that, we don't have anything else. So merely by practicing repeatedly and listening, we can address that. Official is something which we need to go by the rules. We are part of an organization. Swami said, everybody can chant. But within the organization, if they say, they are not asking us not to learn Vedas. They are saying that please don't chant it at the public functions so that we don't give an image that such a organization is a religious organization or a Hindu organization. When we have the desire to learn, we can always leave the Thursday function alone. Let it be only for devotional singing. But we can do it on Saturday or Sunday, purely based on convenience. The Not Sure group for last 2.5 years, they have been doing on a Tuesday evening. 6 to 7 or 7 to 8, as per the time we have been learning. There is no challenge. So all that is required is to have a commitment, and we have strong desire, because Swami said asked us to learn. That's enough for us to learn. But putting a bit of discipline and commitment to it, I think we can handle that part of it. And lack of gurus, in-depth knowledge. See, nobody has got in-depth knowledge, but at least all of us can learn together. We can learn from each other. As I told, like a study circle, we learn from each other. The same thing we can use. Myself and brother Vijay, we learn all the new chants. We don't have a teacher, but we use Prashanti chants as guru. We listen to a verse, then we repeat it and we correct each other and we try to go through the meaning and we move next. So we have been enjoying that. So I think we can easily overcome that. And time is it's individual issue to be handled. Okay, I think.
I'm thinking because we all learned one point raised was the opportunity. So maybe as a group, we can meet, once in whatever, convenient time. We can chant Rudram or whatever we learn, as a group we chant. I know we have, as a group we learned, we did 11 times chanting of Rudram. I find it good. It was
more enhancing.
Yeah, it has more enhancing. So we learned that's one bit. So maybe that's because I can see a big group here. So opportunity we can look at it. It's not part of all we know.
Definitely. See, it's like this. Each one of us would like to celebrate every festival.
Yeah.
And there are definitely verses and hymns, suktas related to each festival. So probably we can celebrate it as a private function. And when you want to celebrate, we can take an opportunity to chant. When we know something, if you have money, you have ways of spending it. When you learn something, there is ways of, chanting and enjoying it. So let's look at earning that money.
One group from the ladies.
Some of us, it was the spiritual base from which we start our journey to spirituality. It emanates vibrations which are very positive and potent. As far as the expectation, we are wanting to understand the meaning along with the intonations and being able to practice what we learn from the Vedas. And also like to focus on the chanting.
Sarah, as to what is the understanding and expectation of Vedic chanting? Well, it's the chanting of ancient Vedic scriptures, which was handed down from God Himself directly, and it is very powerful and energetic. and it generates spiritual energy or positive energy. And we learn more advanced spirituality. Sorry, that's the next question. Why do we chant, or why do we want to chant Vedam? We learn more advanced spiritualism, and we are able to...
You get some similar answers, mine are not as descriptive, much more brief. But understanding expectations of Vedic chanting, well, it leads us to self-realization, is how one person put it, which is the aim of all life. So anything that's taken us there, this has got to be good. And transformation, that something has a transformative effect. Why chant Vedam? Well, Swami says we should. So in that sense, it's like, if Swami says it's good, then so we should. There's obviously got to be something good about it. It's going to be good.
Vedic chanting. One was giving peace of mind, and Vedas are voice of God. Therefore, we must know what it is, know how it affects us, or how effective it is to follow that. Also, to get to know the meaning of the Vedas, it will give a better incentive for.
Most of the points have already been listed. Most of the points have already been listed. So, first question was, what is your understanding and expectations of Vedic chanting? So people thought it's like first thing which came to everybody's mind was like they thought it was more ritualistic, which was and some people thought only, like when they had this understanding, they thought only women can chant, the point which was highlighted earlier also. And some understood it the way, like because they have heard from their parents or their elders that this Gayatri chanting, that's
which all the other groups have covered. So the understanding, of course, I think Brother Ganesh and Brother Vijay as well said it perfectly. You just feel lucky to be able to, even to be in the presence of the Vedas, which creates a magical experience. So I won't actually go into all the points we discussed because it's similar to all the other groups. I do have Sister Kanta here who actually has a true life experience of what happened when she started chanting the Vedas. So I'd like her to share it, but apart from that, it was the same, the feelings and experience. It keeps all the bad qualities away, like fear, ego, anger. We lose all those negative qualities, as you said. And also the challenges, the main challenges were the pronunciation, and as Brother Vijay said, the R, the simple R can make a big difference. And so that's a real, problem when you're learning, because...
It's not Vedic chanting is only ritualistic, but whenever we attend some rituals, some marriage or housewarming ceremony or something, we hear Vedic chanting. Other times we don't hear. So we think that Vedic chanting is ritualistic. But as I explained to you, that Vedas has got the three parts. One is Brahmanas and Samhitas and Aranyakas. Samhitas and Aranyakas are chanted not during the rituals. They are chanted for the personal benefit. When they want to renunciate or those kind of things, they chant and learn the meaning. But only certain parts from Brahmana are chanted during the rituals. But Veda has got complete. Just to give you an example why Vedas are not ritualistic is that, I don't know how many of you know about Shakuntala Devi, the great mathematician from India. You heard of she's the one who holds a lot of Guinness Book of World Records in answering questions. Any kind of large number of digits, multiplication or addition, she answers in split seconds. When people ask what is the secret of it, she said it's because of Vedic mathematics which she has learned. So she has written a beautiful book called Vedic Mathematics. So she has picked up through her ancestors, and she was lucky to learn in solving most of the complex problems using Vedic verses. It's like what is that? Abacus, which is used, a set of beads, but they help children to solve problems very fast. it's much more than that. The abacus came from that again. And the Germans have made best use of Vedas. Most of the technology for missiles.
ॐ यदक्षरपदपृष्ठं मात्राहीनं तु यद्भवेत् तत्सर्वं क्षम्यतां देव नारायण नमोऽस्तु ते विसर्गबिन्दुमात्राणि पदपादाक्षराणि च न्यूनानि चातिरिक्तानि क्षमस्व सा ईश्वरा अपराधसहस्राणि क्रियन्ते हर्निशं मया दासोऽयं मिलिमां मत्वा क्षमस्व सा ईश्वरा अन्यदा शरणं नास्ति त्वमेव शरणं मम तस्मात् कारुण्यभावेन रक्ष रक्ष सा ईश्वरा हरिः ॐ तत्सत् श्री सा ईश्वरार्पणमस्तु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः
Blood